I wouldn't be surprised if the T80UD BE went for over 100 Gaijin coin. This thing is an absolute beast and it does not belong in 10.7. First up we have speed. This UD has a max speed of 60 kilometers per hour. Surprisingly, 60 kilometers per hour is actually on the lower end for this BR bracket. In addition to that, it also has an abysmal 4.2 kilometer per hour max reverse gear. So for this reason, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10 for speed. Legitimately, SPAAs are faster than this. Likewise for agility, its reverse speed still sucks, so it kind of sucks maneuvering. But if you don't stop pressing W, this thing actually has really good traction control. What really sucks about its agility is the fact that it's missing neutral steering. It makes maneuvering in really tight spaces very awkward. So for its agility, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 because as long as you're pressing W, you're fine. Moving on to offense, this thing is an absolute beast. It gets access to 3BM42 with 457 millimeters of pen, and it has a 6.5 second autoloader, which is absolutely fantastic for 10.7. On top of that, you actually get a 50 cal with a butt ton of ammo for once. Now you do have to deal with the -5-degree depression, which actually isn't that bad, but it still affects you a decent amount when you're trying to snipe or go over top of hills. And a lot of NATO tanks that have ace crews will outload you if they still have their loader. So I'm going to give the offensive ability of this vehicle a nice 8 out of 10. Moving over to defense, this thing's armor is absolutely cracked. The amount of times I just took ammunition like nothing was crazy. Even side-on shots were struggling to pen me sometimes. It also gets contact 5 ERA with 120 millimeters protection against kinetic energy munitions and 450 millimeters of chemical energy munition protection. This thing also gets smoke grenades and a dozer blade, which actually helps a lot more than you think. So as far as defense goes in this BR bracket, this thing gets a 10 out of 10. As for flexibility of its roll, it has a 50 cal, so it can kind of hit air targets if they're flying close to you, but it doesn't have access to any proxies or fire and forget missiles. I mean, you do have ATGMs that can be mouse guided in the helis, and I guess it's kind of useful if you have console aim, but I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10 for flexibility. As for its electronics, it does feature Generation 2 thermals, a laser rangefinder, stabilizer, although it is notably missing any type of thermals in the commander site, and it is notably lacking any type of laser warning system for you, but that's pretty standard for any MBT. Also included in the electronic system is the fact that it has an autoloader. It is 6.5 seconds, which is already covered, and that's really great for its BR bracket. So for its electronics, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. As for its survivability, it is a Western tank, so if it gets penetrated in any way, it's pretty much over for you. I did notice while playing it that my breach was shot out a lot of the time, and my ammo carousel would take a round or two, but it would end up with me just getting domed anyways because I couldn't fire back. So for the survivability, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. Moving on to the difficulty, this thing isn't very difficult at all to play. It's basically just press W in Fire Simulator. It's definitely not in the level of the 292 because it only has about 500 millimeters of penetration, but that's still enough with this BR bracket to just point and click if you know the weak spots. So with 10 being the easiest and 1 being the hardest, I'm going to give this thing a difficulty rating of a 9. Moving over to the fun value, this thing is actually really fun because you win a lot of the time and it's quite easy to play this thing. The only part you have to be careful about is the fact that you aren't very survivable and you get one tap, so there's some travel time back to the battlefield. So for its fun value, I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. Moving over to its actual value, it is a rank 7 tank and it's very good in its BR bracket, but it's not a premium and won't get you through the entire Chinese tech tree. But it is a rare vehicle because it's only available through this event and the market. With a 71% win rate and a KD of 2.2, this thing definitely has a value of 9 out of 10. This gives the UD an overall score of 64 out of 100 and the overall grade of a B.